welcome Mr. Chandan Singh, founder of Kinzy.
Good afternoon. Thanks for organizing this session, and thanks Amit for this wonderful talk which he had. So I've been here to talk about PMF in general, like product market fit, right? So I'll talk about my journey a bit, but I mean deliberately I have put this slide first. That what's like many of you are thinking about building something. What about building? Building is just not about getting an idea and creating a product, which can be done, by the way, as Amit said, like in like few seconds, right? But the journey of startup or journey of, I would say, building a company, it starts after that. Once you build something, once you build an MVP or once you build something, right? And that is where like product market fit comes. And once you get a signal of it, then how are you scaling that particular piece, right? So that is what like I'm going to talk a bit more. Hello. How can you move next? Okay. Cool. So about me a bit. So I've been computer science engineer from IIIT Delhi, way back 2008 batch. Worked with Oracle. Like I've been worked with like so many different companies. Started with Oracle. Worked there for 4 years as a coder, right? Then I did my MBA from IIM Ahmedabad. After that, worked most towards different industry, I would say. Worked with DTDC, logistics department. Then worked with CoverFox, insurance. Then moved to Naukri.com, right? And then I joined Adda 24/7. So when I joined Adda, it used to be primarily offline coaching institute, right? And founder Anil and Saurav were building offline coaching institutes for different banking exams, SSC exams, and so on. And they wanted to move into online, and that's how I've been, hired there and started, building the digital piece of the business. And over the period of, I would say, 6 years, I built those product management, technology, product marketing, SEO, basically all the team which is required to build a, business online. And mostly I'll be talking more towards that only because when I joined, the company was more towards offline. When I left after 6 years, the company was more towards online, and we had reached more than 30 million users. So how did we achieve there? How did we reach there? I think that is what I'm going to talk about it. For last 1 year, I've left Adda and I've started building a new company called Kinzy. You all have been doing vibe coding, I guess, right? So what I'm trying to build is a vibe coding for kids. And most of the vibe coding applications which you have been using across the market is for adults. And there is no, I would say, safety or safeguard elements which is required for kids. In today's days, most of the parents are sitting with those kids to create some kind of application. So what I'm trying to do that can we have a very different application for kids where they can come and start creating different stuff, right? And anyway, these kids are consuming a lot of things on YouTube and Insta nowadays, right? So it's better to create something. So that is what I've been building. Now, like, what is product market fit, right? Like before PMF, like you have to have a product, right? And many people say that, okay, now it has been a good product, so I have reached the product market fit. But typically, like product and market, right? So in market, there are a lot of problems and which you identify, right? And how do you identify? Like I talked about the idea phase, right? When you're thinking about idea, it seems like ideas are easy, right? And honestly, it's easy, but you have to be like very, very curious to get a good idea, right? And curiosity comes just around you, right? For example, I'll just say these lights should be dimmed so that the focus on the slide should be more, right? You might think, okay, why this fan is longer than this fan, right? So you have to be curious, and the more curious you are, the better idea you will get, right? So that is more like a problem identification from the market side. Then the product building, right? It is never the case that the product you are building is actually solving the problem, because for any kind of problem, for example, I talked about kids watching a lot of digital content on, say, YouTube or Insta, Reels and all, right? Is it good for kids? Answer is no, especially if you're talking about like 8 to 10-year-old kid, right? Then how do you solve for it? One is what I am trying to do is vibe coding application for kids. So if they are using a device, they should be creating stuff rather than just consuming. Other solution can be, okay, there is no screen time. Can we build a hardware of it, right? Third solution can be, okay, can we have a playground where kids can go together and do some kind of creative exercise. So there can be different solutions for the same problem, right? So it's not about like whatever you have identified as the best solution. You have to keep iterating the solution, right? And that is what the PMF means, that once you find something, the solution where like the demand is more than what you are pushing to the market, is where you are getting a clear signal, okay, this is where I'm kind of getting a PMF. So yeah, I mean, these are certain metric, right? Like, is your user kind of recommending your product, right? Is there any organic growth where like a lot of people are coming automatically instead of you doing a lot of paid marketing stuff? And then of course, if they are using the product, are they coming again and again or not, right? Yeah, so here like I'll talk about one case study which we did at Adda 24/7. So when I joined, there are a lot of content which we are pushing to the end user. For example, we were creating a lot of current affairs, we are creating a lot of quizzes, daily quizzes for banking exam, SSC exams, and people were, I mean, users were appearing for those quizzes, writing something. But what was happening, they were writing something back to us on our customer support channel, right? For example, okay, there is problem in this quiz, or maybe some random stuff that India won the match today, that they were kind of writing that Virat Kohli played well. Those kind of stuff also happened. So we thought like you just want to interact with us. That's a very good sign, because it's not that you are just throwing product to the end user. Users are also coming to you. So the next idea was that can we capture those information, because your customer support team is not as big who can handle as many, say, 1,000 queries immediately. So we created a very small discussion forum within the application, assuming that users will be talking to each other, right? Just like LinkedIn or these kind of platform. And I'm talking about way back in 2018. And we created that, and people have started writing it. And again, the next problem was, since we are an edtech platform and people were writing a lot of random stuff, right, other than educational stuff. So we thought, how can we curb that, right? And then we changed that discussion forum to the doubt forum by putting some kind of guardrails, right? And the things changed. So people were posting questions and somebody was answering those questions. So for example, it was more like a marketplace where people were kind of solving each other's problem, and it was saving a lot of bandwidth for us also, right? So even like when you're building stuff, right, like as I told you this journey that, okay, we first build the discussion forum, then we build the doubt forum, and then we found out some of the users want to get it solved by teachers, right? Then we brought the teachers, some experts, right? Then we moved into live classes, and that's where the business started happening. Because when you are bringing some people, some advisory, some expert, then you can charge from the customer also. And that is where like people have started paying to you, and that's where that PMF has been hit, right? So as I think in the previous session, ma'am has said that you need to find out for what reasons your customers are paying. So once they start paying that, it means you have hit your PMF, and then the growth journey starts from there, and then you need to scale. So I think I've talked about it, right? This is how you need to, I mean, it's more like a framework, right? That you need to find the real problem, right? And problem identification comes from curiosity. Then try to find out, okay, which segment where you can go and figure out stuff. I talked about dimming this light. Maybe this problem can only happen in, say, colleges where this kind of setup is there, right? You cannot go to houses or different office setup. So you need to find out what is your target segment, right? And build a simple MVP, right? You don't need to build everything. And now building is so easy. So try to test as soon as possible. Whatever idea you are coming in your head, try to create some product, some MVP, some landing page or something like that. Test it. And if you find some kind of takers, just build on top of that. And of course, whatever you do, try to measure it, right? Otherwise there is no point. So even if you're building an MVP, put something, some kind of metrics where you are trying to get the real answer. This is again a very important step in terms of building a company. First is idea, then product, then trying to do a lot of experiments to figure out what is your PMF. Even once the PMF hits, right, generally what happens, sometimes you, for a particular market or for a particular segment, you get the PMF. But when you try to copy the same to some other market, right, you don't get the same output. So you also need to iterate there. You also need to figure out what is scalable, what is not. What is your business proposition? Do you want to scale this doubt model to, say, for example, we have created for North India where a lot of doubts were coming in Hindi. Can you replicate the same to, say, southern part of the country? Answer is no, because those doubts were coming in Hindi. So you also need to figure out, can we scale into different language, right? If the language problem is solved, can it be scalable, right? So that is what the distribution means, that how are you distributing through different channels, right? And then the trust, like in terms of edtech, I know like all of you, like we are studying in this college because there is some kind of trust established that if you study from here, your life will be better, right? So the trust is very, very important once you build any kind of product, right? And then unit economics, I think everybody knows it, so I'll not talk about it much. Yeah. Since I've worked for last, I think 7 years in edtech, so that's why like I put this particular slide. If you see the educational journey for last 10 years, like a lot of us have gone through video-based learning, right? A lot of content on YouTube and different kind of platforms. Then for last couple of years, AI-driven learning is coming. Instead of Google search, we are going on, say, Claude, GPT, and so of the world, and trying to create some use cases. A lot of AI tutors are coming into the market, which is helping you, right? But what is the future? As Amit said, like slight difference between different kind of roles as we go in future, and everybody has to be a builder. Whether you like it or not, you have to be a builder. And for now, like for builder mindset, you don't need to learn coding per se. Like vibe coding is good enough. You just need to put your mind, and that is where the learning will kind of explode. And the future will be learning by creation, right? So even if you're building something in edtech, just try to think about it that during this whole edtech proposition, learning should not be just one way. It should be kind of involve the user and start getting those kind of creation stuff. Yeah. I think so. This is the last thing. Like I'll talk about the closing thought first, right? It's very, I mean, nowadays if you see that entrepreneurship is kind of very hot topic outside the world, right? It is getting easier because of the product building is getting easier, but building a company is still as hard as it used to be, say 10 years back, or 5 years back, or 15 years back. Of course you get more funding, but at the same time, number of companies who are entering into the market, number of startups who are entering the market is as huge as possible. So don't just focus on idea and product. Always try to do as much experiments as possible to figure out your PMF, because if you're not able to find out, and also as early as possible, otherwise you'll be wasting a lot of time there, right? And since building is easier, maybe you might be building a lot of random stuff for which there is no need, or maybe there is no need in the market at the current moment of time. Maybe in future, but not now. So build, find a good idea, be as curious as possible, and do as much experiment as well. So this is what my final thought is. Thank you guys.